do something a little different. I'm going to read from something I wrote back in my high school days. Let's begin. The Masked Murderer Zero: The Life and Struggles of Alberto Mike von Gabriel. In New York, between the mid 1800s, the mid 1800s, and the mid 1900s, lived a man named Alberto Mike von Gabriel, a returning veteran from World War One. Betrayed by his fellow squad leader and brother, Alberto wanted revenge on his brother for his treachery. But when Alberto got back to New York, thinking that the heat was off him, it was not. He was still in debt with the New York Mafia and many loan sharks, to begin his many struggles. But the question remains, what friends will he make? What alliances will he either break or try to maintain? You will find this out soon enough, but for now, his war background and the war within himself will begin. Chapter 1: The Horrors of World War One. At the Battle of Verdun, he said he and his squad mates were fighting in terrible conditions and had an enormous loss of life. Alberto had to rely on his squad to get them all back home safe. The trenches were dirty, wet, and hardly offered any cover from the relentless flow of bullets coming their way. At that particular battle, each side lost more than 300,000 men. Trench fighting made the war bitter and harsh for the soldiers. Alberto and his men started calling it no man's land. Even with the terrible conditions, alliances and strong bonds were formed between men, making them almost as close as family. Sorry, hold on. Making them almost as close as family. Alberto thinking since he trusted Jason Michael with his life, he thought he could trust him with anything. He was wrong. When a woman named Mata Hari came into Jason Michael's life, it would change Alberto and Jason's relationship forever. As the war grew fiercer, Alberto got more and more suspicious about Jason's allegiance and loyalties to his country. One day, Jason Michael said to his squadron, "It is time to act. There is one village under enemy control. We have been assigned to take this village back." Alberto objected, saying, "I thought our battle was in the trenches, not out of them." Jason Michael didn't listen, and he led the squadron anyway. And since Alberto was still loyal, he followed anyway, but this was a trap. As they approached the village, Jason Michael said with a grin on his face, "They're all yours." Jason Michael ran, leaving the scene. The soldiers were ambushed. Not knowing what to do, many died, and Alberto ran for his life, cursing his brother. He eventually found himself back in New York. Chapter 2: The Wicked Never Rest. Alberto arrived back at New York only to find out he had nothing. He went to his house in Midtown only to find it burned and ransacked. All Alberto had left was the horrible memories of World War I and the sheer hatred of his brother who betrayed him. Then, as he was looking at his burned house, he was knocked out by a shovel. When he woke up, he was in an abandoned warehouse. The loan shark said that if he did not come up with the money, that they would kill him. Alberto cleared his throat and said, "I don't have your money. However, I would like to know how I can repay my debts." The loan shark thought it over and replied, Here is a list of all the men you have to kill. If you do this, your debt will be paid in full. The list was as follows. Politician Lucien Bucks. Police Chief Henderson Jr. Lowlife Mark Kenderson. Nightclub owner Anthony Jackson. CEO Jesse Ferguson. Corrupt Judge Luke Thompson. Mercenary Godson Highborn. Ringleader Victor Rodriguez. Hi, Roblox Plays. What's up? Union Big Shot Jack Spade. Bank Manager Ben Carmen. Alberto started to fulfill his end of the deal. That's good to hear. Chapter 3. Live free, die hard. As Alberto was finding more information about the people he had to kill, somebody sent him a letter via courier. As he opened in the letter said, "Dear Alberto, we have a proposition for you. We know of your terrible memories of World War I and your terrible dealings with a guy named Jason Michael. We want to discuss it in more detail. Meet us at the 97th floor of the Empire State Building. We have a lot to talk about. Sincerely, a friend." Alberto wasted no time in gathering himself and going into that location. When he arrived, the guard stopped him and said, "So do you know what is Roblox?" "Yes." Isn't that's a game, right? It's like a computer game. Anyways, "Do you have an invitation or another problem, punk?" Alberto replied, "I have an invitation to this exact location. Here, I'll show you." The guard looked at this letter and replied, "Oh, you're the one. Very well. Go on in." As Alberto opened the door, he was greeted by none other than all the New York Mafia members. The mob boss, Timothy Falprane, greeted Alberto, telling him, "We have a lot to talk about." 1 hour later, after all the sordid details that Timothy Falprane revealed about Jason Michael were out in the open, Alberto knew what he had to do. And Alberto, knowing that he still had to fulfill the loan shark's debt, he decided that he was going to put both jobs above himself. "Oh, thank you. I appreciate you liking my stream." He made a promise to himself that until both jobs were completed, he would only eat and sleep when absolutely necessary. Timothy Falprane knew that Alberto needed a place that he could be alone, so that he could work on a plan to take down Jason Michael. Timothy knew of an abandoned amusement park on the east side of town that no one ever bothered to go around or near, because of all the derelicts and forgotten souls of society that had set up camp there. Timothy knew that Alberto would be completely happy and ready to get started on taking down Jason Michael. But the spot that he had picked Alberto was... "Oh, thank you. I appreciate that." Chapter 4. A Time and Place. Wait. Timing was essential, and place had to be perfect. So Alberto decided that the plan was to drag each of his victims to the amusement park he stayed to mask his identity. He decided to craft a mask within the park that was perfect, and so he got to work. Sorry, I'm trying to find where I left off. Collecting old scrap metal from the broken down rides from the amusement park after he had enough metal. Alberto took it back. Okay, I understand. To the fun house to begin welding the pieces together. After when he felt that the shape of the mask was perfect to disguise him because he knew he could never be recognized for what he was gonna to do. Terrible, horrific things to his victims. He needed the mask to be strong, so he filled the trash can with scalding hot coals, where he heated the mask until it was fire red. Once he felt it was a perfect temperature, he immediately doused it with freezing cold water. And when the mask did not crack, he knew that was strong enough that it had created something amazing. Chapter 5: The Masquerade Butcher. First on Alberto's list were Mark Henderson, Godson Highborn, and Victor Rodriguez. Luckily for Alberto, all three of the men were going to be attending the same masquerade. Oh, thank you. Ball that he was. Michael knew that this was the perfect opportunity to start paying his debt by killing all three of these men at the ball. Alberto arrived early so he could stalk his prey with the mask that he had created. On. He was able to move through the crowd with ease. No one was paying attention when Mark Henderson stepped out onto the balcony except Alberto. Mark Henderson was leaning against the balcony's rail when Alberto made his move. He moved quietly and quickly behind Mark, grabbing his head and slitting his throat. You're my best streamer. Thank you, I appreciate that. And with a final nudge over the balcony, Alberto had killed Mark Henderson. Alberto slipped back into the party, no one noticing he was ever gone. Godson Highborn, who was a mercenary and also a bit of an alcoholic, he was known for always being the life of the party and drinking anything that passed his lips. Alberto, knowing this, had poured a fantastic glass of red wine. What made this wine so fantastic is the 3 shots of tasteless cyanide that he had added, holding the glass and waiting for his perfect moment to approach Godson. My brother is also watching from my phone now. Oh, that's cool. Awesome. He noticed Victor Rodriguez. Oh, wait, no. He noticed going into the restroom. Alberto followed, immediately grabbing Victor by the throat and snapping his neck in one perfect motion. Alberto then hid Victor's lifeless body in the shower as to not cause attention. He knew this was his shot to go and finish Godson with his glass of wine. Alberto walked right to Godson and said, "Bet you never tried anything like this before." Without saying a word, Godson grabbed the glass and finished it in a matter of seconds. Alberto knew he had to slip out of the party quickly. He would come back later to collect the 3 men's lifeless corpse. Chapter 6: The Next Step. Ben Carmen, Jack Spade, and Anthony Jackson were next on the list. Alberto knew that Ben Carmen worked late and alone every 3rd Tuesday of the month. Alberto was his shot when the Tuesday came. Alberto went to the bank and hid until the bank was closed. And no one was left there except for Alberto and his next victim, Ben. Alberto saw that Ben was hunched over his desk. Feeling that this was the perfect opportunity, he made his move. Alberto noticed how perfectly still Ben was, started to realize that somebody had beat him to the punch. Because as Alberto touched Ben, oh, thank you. His entire head came out completely off his body and was cut so clean. Alberto knew it had to be professional. So basically, somebody beat Alberto to his victim, Ben Carson. Jack Spade, a Union big shot, was never one to shy away from a fight. He was known for bringing a knife to a fist fight. Alberto, knowing these things, knew he had an advantage. Alberto had to do what was be in the right place at the right time every morning. Oh, your little brother's watching? Oh, that's awesome. Jack Spade would walk his wife's dog. Alberto used this information and found out his route and waited for Jack Spade to pass by. When Jack passed Alberto, Alberto spit on the dog and on Jack Spade's face. As he did this, Jack threw a punch at Alberto that he dodged, leaving Jack completely wide open. Alberto, seeing this opportunity, pulling out the crowbar from underneath his jacket. He took it only a single blow for Jack Spade's head to be crushed like a watermelon. Alberto kissed the dog on the forehead and said farewell. Alberto, feeling really good about his kills, decided that with Anthony Jackson's death, he could have a little fun with it. So he decided, I have 9 minutes left and I got to go to sleep, but I still love watching your videos. Thank you so much. As the clock struck 1 a.m., Alberto knew it was time to end the evening. Oh, for sure. Thank you. I appreciate it. As he made his way to Anthony Jackson's office so stealthily and quietly, it was ninja style. He went into the office and in one instant he pulled out his katanas and made Anthony get on his knees. And Alberto placed the katanas at Anthony's neck and slowly began severing Anthony's head. Chapter 7. Gambling with a Chance of Death. Lucien Bucks, Luke Thompson, and Henderson Jr. were Alberto's next three targets. They all, on a dark, rainy Saturday night, the three men were at the High Roller Casino. Police Chief Henderson Jr. was gambling for money. Lucien Bucks was eating at a restaurant, and Luke Thompson, the corrupt judge, was at the bar. Alberto, knowing that these were hard targets, he waited until one broke away from the pack. Shortly after Luke Thompson finished his drink, he stepped outside the curb to smoke a cigarette. Today, I had to tell my class about what I read and I got an A+. Oh, nice! You got an A+? Epic! That's so awesome. No, seriously, like A+? Heck yeah. Let me see. Casino. Sorry, I'm trying to find the where I left off. Except when all of a sudden Alberto came up behind Luke and pushed him abruptly into ongoing traffic, and he was hit by a big semi truck. Lucien Bucks. Oh no worries. Lucien Bucks, enjoying what he thought was a delicious bowl of soup, he failed to know that his soup was in fact filled with small shards of sharp glass. He immediately began to feel pain in his stomach soon after he fell to the floor and died instantly. Henderson Jr. was the last of his targets that were present at the casino. Henderson Jr. was itching for a cigarette, so he waved at the cocktail waitress and asked for a cigarette. After a few short moments, the waitress returned with a pack of Marlboro Lights. While upon lighting up, he inhaled poison that was laced within the cigarette. He suffocated and fell flat onto the blackjack table. Chapter 8. Killing two birds with one stone. CEO Jesse Ferguson is a paranoid individual, and with good reason to be. He knew that death was around the corner. So he hired Jason Michael, an ex-soldier, to in World War One. In World War One, Jason Michael agreed to this request, therefore making him his high-ranking bodyguard. During the daytime, Alberto, knowing full well he could not get in otherwise, disguised himself as one of the mailmen. He went up the elevator to his office. What book? Oh, this is my book I wrote in high school. Back in the day. It's called The Masked Murderer Zero. But I'm reading the whole thing, so all the it's the books are called The Masked Murderer Collection. So that's what the book is called, and that's the origins. Um, he went up the elevator to his office, where he found his last two victims. Jesse said in arrogance, "Masked murderer." Yeah. Um, it's not as scary as you think. It does sound scary, but it's not as scary as you think, as you're probably thinking. I give almost everyone this question: what was your biggest secret as young? Mm, my biggest secret is I don't know actually. I'll have to think about that. I'll have to get back to you on that one. Anyways, haha, you have lost, Alberto, because your brother is going to kill you. Brother against brother. I'm going to enjoy this. Alberto said, "Why, Jason, did you betray me and my squad? You had an allegiance to your country. Why are you doing this?" Jason replied, "Really? Don't you realize they put us in the hard part of the war with almost no chance of survival? I betrayed you and my squad because of one thing: survival." Alberto replied, "Is that all you have to say for your crimes? You're a fool. At least those who died for our country are honored, but you deserve no honor whatsoever." Jason, "Let's end this." Jason replied, "Very well, brother. I will destroy you. Sorry, business is business." And so two katanas were clanked in a clash for their lives. Jason, however, did a very dirty move. He stabbed Alberto in the stomach. As Alberto squirmed on the ground, Jason was about to deliver the final blow. Alberto said, "For too long you have been a thorn in my side, ever since World War One. Die now, cursed brother." As this was said, Alberto found the strength to get up and with one last blow chopped off Jason Michael's head. As Alberto was approaching Jason Ferguson, he fell down and said, "Someday you will die." As these words were being said, Alberto kicked him off the glass building, killing him. Because of the far fall down the long building, Alberto was done with what he had set himself out to do. Epilogue. Thank you. And so Alberto was finished. He eventually felt compelled to go to London. He eventually found a woman he would eventually fall in love with and have a child with. The woman was really the original masked murderer. Well, anyways, that's it for today. That's Masked Murderer Zero. I'm gonna read the Masked Murderer 1 tomorrow or later, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, thank you so much for. Who's Alberto? Alberto is the main character of the Masked Murderer Zero. His full name is Alberto Mike Von Gabriel. Okay, sounds good. Anyways, you all have a good one. Peace.